Appreciate Trey coming on. Now, wanted to switch over, talk a little bit about NFL guys. And by NFL guys, I mean D2 guys that are making some waves in the NFL. The first of which, Gavin, Tyson Bagent. I feel like he's taken a lot of headlines just in the last week. That kind of tends to happen when you have this kind of stat line. Saturday versus the Colts in the Bears preseason game, 9 for 10 on passes, 76 passing yards with a 98.3 passer rating, and he had that little 2-yard like touchdown run where he kind of leaped over the goal line. But there were a lot of really good things being said about him, and I think number one, just like his composure and his poise. He's a guy that I think everyone from our level knows who he is. At Shepherd, he put up a ridiculous amount of numbers. He's only 23 years old, but he set NCAA passing records left and right while he was at Shepherd in D2. He threw for 17,034 yards. That's an all-time record across all NCAA divisions.
Damn.
Had 159 touchdown passes in his career at Shepherd, dude. 17,000 yards. So you divide that by what, 4 seasons? Right? Because that's eligibility-wise. And then you're looking at over 4,000 yards a year. If it actually were cut up directly ridiculous. Like that. That's heinous.
It's going off, dude.
That's crazy. Shepherd has made a lot of deep playoff runs. They're the back-to-back regional champions coming out of that super region. But Matt Eberflus talked about his performance. He said, quote, I saw poise. I saw good protection by the line, saw good route running by the receivers, good running by the back. And then that he's kind of goes into like that helped him kind of get into rhythm. But he says, I saw poise from him. Delivery was there. The accuracy looked pretty good. Timing was nice. Decision-making was good. All the things it takes to score a touchdown, you saw it there. So I think that's just really encouraging to see. And like I said, he was the only guy from this past draft class, the D2 level, to even get a chance at the quarterback position in the NFL. Did you catch any of the clips of the game at all? Probably not.
No.
Yeah. But kind of talking about that situation a little bit, you look at Justin Fields is obviously the starter in Chicago, and people are very high on him right now. But as far as the other quarterbacks in that room, Gavin, you've got P.J. Walker, comes out of Temple, who is a stud, bounces around a couple NFL teams, ends up landing in the XFL. He was a dog for the Roughnecks. That was back in 2020 or 2021, around that time, correct? And then gets picked up. He played the last 2 years a ton of meaningful snaps for the Panthers, right? Because it was him and Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. I think because he actually balled out against the Lions, if you remember, didn't he?
Let's just cut that. I don't want to talk about that.
I'm pretty sure that was him, though, right? I remember him coming out and throwing for like 300 against us last year or 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So P.J. Walker's in that room, definitely a proven guy, a little bit older. Nathan Peterman, we had talked a little bit before the show, like a pretty much journeyman backup quarterback. I don't know if he's ever really landed as a true starter anywhere, though, has he?
I don't think so.
So I'm interested to see, because they'll keep what? They'll keep 3, correct? Mm-hmm. I think they'll keep 3. So you have Justin Fields, I would assume P.J. Walker, and then Tyson Bagent, I would assume, is battling for that third spot with a guy like Nathan Peterman.
Balled out. I mean, has Nathan played at all?
That's a great question. I think so.
How old is Nathan? Like 76? I know he's old.
Jesus.
I know he's old.
That's good. No, I don't. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if Peterman has played a whole lot. But when you watch Bagent play, I think something it's really evident with him and his play style is his ability to make the throw off of like the back foot and the unscheduled throw. He's not a guy that and that's where the game is evolving with a lot of quarterbacks, especially at the NFL level, the guys who can make off-schedule throws and not necessarily like, a quarterback sets up and gets into his nice 3-step and then is poised and goes forward like a very typical throw. Like more and more teams want guys who can, make that throw where they're coming off the back foot and maybe have to change up the arm angle to get around a defender.
Like a Patty Mahomes.
That's like the epitome of that, right?
That pass he made this last weekend where he was jumping out of bounds and threw it like this. Yeah. Get out of here. Stop it.
Yeah, but like I think football is just moving more and more that way. So he's a guy that definitely fits into that that kind of category because when you watch his tape, very rarely will you see it. Now, he does get on schedule sometimes, especially when you have a nice protection or you get into a nice pocket, you can get into rhythm a little bit. But you'll see a lot of his throws are actually made off the back foot, made a little bit off balance, and his accuracy is still right there. A lot of them made on the move as well. And that's, again, something that I'm not surprised by. I saw him make playoff run after playoff run in college, and now seeing him do this isn't a shock. But to people who are not familiar with his name, I can certainly understand where a little bit of that skepticism comes from, because we just said, when was the last D2 quarterback to come out and really make some waves? I can't remember, but I'm not really great with names like that, you know? Just a position that's tough. It's a tough translation. Now, a position that translates potentially a little bit better to the NFL coming out of such a smaller school, that being like a defensive lineman, right? Caleb Murphy, we've talked about him a ton. Set the single-season sack record at D2 Ferris State, who's the back-to-back national champions. They're picked to repeat again this year. They'd be the first team since West Alabama did it in the 1980s or 90s. West Alabama won 3 in a row. So Ferris would be the first team since then to do that. I was not aware of that, actually. I just found that out. It was pretty crazy. But there's a nice little news piece on Caleb Murphy that we can watch before we talk a little bit more about the guy from the Bulldogs here. Let me pull that up.
Caleb Murphy get to the quarterback when he played at Ferris State. He set an NCAA sack record at all levels with 25.5 sacks in 2022. To no one's surprise in Big Rapids, he's doing the same thing in the NFL. Saturday night against the Vikings, the Titans' outside linebacker did not just record 1 sack, but 2. Murphy has now brought down the quarterback 3 times in just 2 preseason games. The undrafted
pretty good
free
stat
agent
line right
might
there.
be surprising some with his numbers.
It's like for him, I mean, one of the only stats that matters.
That's what we're brought in to do, is sack the quarterback. You know, so it's a nice feeling. But other than that, you know, I think it's something that's become natural with the feeling of hitting the quarterback, coming in doing it for the team. Confidence level has always been high. I pride myself in what I do. You know what I'm saying? I'm here for a reason. I've said that over and over again. But you know, there's a lot of work to still be done, a lot of things to clean up. But very proud of myself. You know, 2 sacks is big. So you know, just we got the win. You know, that's the most important.
The Titans' final preseason game is on Friday.
Pretty sweet stuff from him, and I think the biggest thing too is like you hear him talk about it, and there's not like a sense maybe of, you know, surprise in his voice, right? And again, I think people who watched him the last couple of years will know that this dude was an absolute machine. You like, if there was odds or like a line placed on sacks, it would be like Caleb Murphy, like over under like half a sack would probably be like minus 800, like for any given, you know what I mean? Like something absurd and ridiculous, because the dude literally was having multi-sack games almost every week all the way into the playoffs. Yeah. And really cool to see that though. Really sweet.
That last tackle, damn, he just poof,
right?
Pancaked his ass.
Yeah.
Oof.
He was working this like this little like cross chop, and then I remember seeing him do like a nice long arm off the edge, which are, you know, nothing, again, like the moves themselves, not anything crazy technical. I'm not exactly an expert like D-line coach, but I understand like a little bit of concepts. But it's all in the execution, and like he's a guy who's done that. I think the big knock on him coming out of college, actually, and I don't think you saw this, but was his pro day and looking at his pro day numbers, because everyone was, you know, aware of him, and he was on a lot of teams' radar. From his numbers, from his production, from the winning that he did at Ferris. But when he went to the pro day, he didn't put up the athleticism numbers that I think people were expecting from him. Not to say they were bad, but they just weren't up to par with, I think, a lot of other guys at that position coming into the draft. So that obviously tanked his stock, and he ends up being a priority undrafted free agent going to Tennessee, which is just crazy, dude. Like, that stuff is really just that important that it can just stop your draft stock, right?
Yeah, that's sucks.
It does. Because now, like you're seeing, like the dude can play. Like whether or not.
Out.
Yeah, exactly. Which is really sweet. There were some words from Coach Vrabel on it that I wanted to pull up here too, talking about Caleb Murphy. He was taught, this is funny too, because he gives him like a compliment, but then he also like gives him like something to work on, which is funny. He said he had a great rush, matched the hand, didn't leave his feet. Quarterback brought the ball down, he had a nice sack, impacted the play. But he goes, we'd like to see him try and tomahawk that ball where he spun back in on the second sack. I love, like, Braves just like can't just dish out a compliment. It's got to be like a little bit of both.
Yeah, he did good, but could have been better.
Could have been a lot better.
Like, thanks, Mike.
he says, just a few, I would say, awareness things. Sometimes on a screen, a run game, things like that. But as far as rushing, he's shown an ability to win, is what Vrabel said about him. And it definitely seems like they don't have a ton of depth at that position, too. Vrabel also said that he continues to find a role on special teams. I love his attitude, shows up every day ready to work. So you get in on special teams, and that's the case of every NFL rookie, really, for the most part, unless you're a high draft pick. But you get in on special teams and solidify yourself a spot on that actual travel or game day roster. And if you don't have a ton of depth at the position, which Tennessee really does not right now, you could find a way to get in there as a 3 or even a practice squad guy. That's not the worst thing. It's not exactly a death sentence, right? Being a practice squad guy, you're still in the league, still getting opportunity. So really cool stuff from Murphy.